Let's bring in Cousin Nick, ESPN, Brooklyn Nets beat writer. Cousin Nick, were you on the line for that Gene freestyle?
Yeah, shout out to Gene for the Papa Shasky reference, too.
Oh my
How about
gosh.
that?
Hey,
Oh, my gosh.
So, Nick, first off, we miss you. I love you.
Sorry you didn't make the list for Guest of the Year.
Yeah,
we apologize. It's a long list.
I still love y'all guys. It's all good.
Slater beat you to the punch.
It's all good. And so, Nick, a couple weeks back, Bonte comes in here, and he was tongue-in-cheek with it. He said, people, the streets are telling me that I'm the king of Bay Area media, which I've been joking at him. No. I'll take you behind the scenes. I've been joking with him, and I said, dude, I feel like you're the king of the media right now. Like, you're on TV at night. You're on the radio in the morning. We're killing it on both sets in terms of the ratings. You're the king. And so this whole, Bonte is the king of Bay Area sports media has really taken off. And it's tongue-in-cheek, but also very serious.
It really triggered him, Nick. It really triggered him.
Well, I could be Robin Hood.
Everybody else can brag about being arrogant and cocky and being the best. As soon as I do it, we got to make rap songs about it.
So, to make him smile during a rough week, because the Warriors, they're a sinking ship right now, I made this song because he works with, Chris Mullen, Run DMC, a.k.a. Run TMC. I made this song. Jake, you got to be ready on the beat here, bud. I mean, we've got rookie mistakes here. Nick, hang tight.
We got one take, Jake. It's his first
we
week
had a
on the
new
job.
guy behind it. Basically, we're playing Anthony Lamb right now.
He's on a two-way contract. Hey, Cousin Nick, we thought Spadoni was going to get Wally pipped. So anyway, let's fill some time before we find the rap.
This is like Marco Bellinelli scoring 40 in a summer leak game and then doing nothing the remainder of his career.
Last night. Is it
like James
half.
Wiseman scoring 30 and then ...
Dude, so Cousin Nick, all right, here goes the rap. Here goes the rap.
Sire, to burn his kingdom, you must use fire. He won't stop yapping till he retires. Now he rocks the roast, so come correct. Dial 957 if you want to vent. Doing dub, pre and post on your TV set. Rappers hit the gatehouse and pay respect.
What are you talking about, Shasky? I'm the king of Bay Area sports talk. Come on, Shasky, doggy. Come on, doggy.
Who do you think invented you, Shasky?
I'm the king of Bay Area sports. Hold on, Nick. It gets better. What are you talking about, Shasky? I'm the king of Bay Area sports talk.
Second verse is yours.
Come on, Shasky, doggy. Come on, doggy.
Who do you think invented you, Shasky?
I'm the king of Bay Area sports.
Wait up, Nick. It gets better.
The roast rating's killer, there's no one chiller. Interviewing David Stern and Will the Thriller. He's one sharp fella, I know we can hang. Leader of the trademark and the Jimmy G Gucci gang. Roll to the rock to the roll. Waller Street, Monte Hill, Fillmore. You can see him on TV for show. And you can catch him 957 morning radio.
Nick, 1 to 10, what do you rate it?
I give it a solid 6.
I'm falling to my knees.
Damn.
I'm falling to my knees.
Did you get it? Go ahead, Nick.
It's pretty solid. I can picture Joe in the '80s Warriors starter jacket with a massive gold chain and some black Ray-Bans up top, just going to work on that video. And maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's the next step. But the rhymes are there. I do love I invented you, Shasky. that got me every time that went out there.
It is true.
And see what they're doing to me out here, Nick, man. They're driving me crazy, dude. Carlos Correa.
It's all love, my man. It's all love.
No, it's no love out here, man. It's bad blood right now. It's the Hatfields and McCoys, as Shasky always says. Bloods and Crips right now on the morning roast.
Yep.
It's big beef right now happening because we're all going crazy over what's happening in the Bay. You had to sit through that game last night. I had to sit through that game last night. Shasky, by choice, sat through that game last night.
With Grandpa.
I mean,
Grandpa was critiquing Bonte in a good way. He was just so proud of him on television.
I mean, these guys give up 46 points in the first quarter, 45 in the second quarter, 91. No physicality. Ben Simmons took Jordan Poole out of the game in 3 minutes. I mean, how do you describe the atmosphere yesterday? I mean, what did we watch?
Well, the atmosphere was like that of every other Nets game, which is to say there wasn't much of one inside Barclays. But, aside from that, the game itself was just bad. That was a bad product for the NBA. And I know that the Warriors have been struggling. We know the road record. But to see it up close, guys, you know the look and feel of a championship level team when you see it. And it was starting to be built early last season when I was still there. In fact, this was right around the time that I moved out to New York. But you could see they had the depth that they needed. You could plug anybody in, and I know that you guys have gone through the roster deficiencies because I listen every day. But when you take out GP2 and you take out Otto Porter and you don't have guys that you can trust in all those kind of different spots, well, then you get a lot of what we saw last night. And, of course, not having Steph out there and not having Wiggins out there, who, to his credit, and I'm the first to say, Wiggins has been even better. I mean, when Wiggins has been out there, he's improved even more. He really has developed into just a great player for this team. But when you don't have those guys out there and you have the uncertainty of what Poole's going to give you, and we know what's going on with Klay, it is so very hit or miss right now when he is able to really give them what they're going to need. I think this team is going to be better, but to think that this group is championship caliber this year, I don't see it unless they make another move.
Well, and I know a lot of Warrior fans are going to sit here and they've said it to me like, Joe, you didn't think they were a champion last year. And it's like, well, so many things early on in the season reflected that, wow, they're way better than we thought heading into the year. Now, I know they had a really tough stretch, February, March, et cetera, and you didn't see any of the players play together. I just never have gotten that sense this year. Is it fair to be like, no, this is a championship group. We just saw them win 6 months ago. Is it fair for me to say, yeah, but this team feels so different than just 6 months ago, even the top six?
Joe, it absolutely does. And anybody who's telling you that, come on now, let's have a little bit of a reality check. What I will tell you is that Warriors team last year taught me as a writer, as a journalist, that you can never count out any kind of team that has a Steph or that has a Draymond who is locked in and motivated, or, Klay just hasn't played very well since he's come back, but we've seen him do it before. So you don't want to just completely count him out and say, it can't happen. The difference, though, is that early in last year, right around this time, we had started to see what they were turning into. And I go back, guys. So in fact, Slater and I were talking about this last night at the game. Draymond last year, before the opener at what was then Staples, is sitting there saying, we're a long ways away from a title. Draymond loves to say, I told everybody early, don't let us win. And it was on that podcast. But that was like a month and a half into the season.
Right. On
opening night, Draymond was sitting there telling us, as we're talking to him, hey, we are a long ways off. We've got a lot of work to go here. And to see the development, you could see why everybody was starting to be really positive about what could happen. That development is not there. I mean, we could go through 1 through 5 or 6 on the roster, but once you get to about 6 to 10 or 11 or 12, that is rough right now. And to see it up close and to see all the deficiencies that they do have, it makes you just shake your head. But I say in the same breath, the West isn't they don't have any kind of knockout team right now. Right. I don't think the Warriors are scared of anybody on that side. I will tell you, I've seen Boston and I've seen Milwaukee up close. And the Warriors don't want any part of those two teams.
Well, hold on, Cousin
right
Nick.
now.
Hold on, Cousin Nick. We saw Boston come to Chase Center a couple Saturdays ago. No Andrew Wiggins. And the Warriors put it on them, Celtics. Put it on them. They turned Tatum into a pumpkin. I'm going to defend my Warriors on that one. But I do agree with you about the West. I do agree with you about the West.
You want to put that bet down right now. Whether the Celtics or Warriors are going to win.
Well, let's do that if they play each other. If they play each other.
We got a dinner bet right now because I'm taking Boston all the way in that one.
I'm rooting for the Celtics so hard. if we get Warriors Celtics part 2, now one, I'm gonna be miserable for going to Boston because that flight sucks. Shasky's gonna be out there with his Boston accent out there. But you know what? We'll get a lobster roll. We'll eat crab together, and I'll gladly take your dinner bet if the Warriors and Celtics.
Done deal. Let's do it.
We had to do dinner anyway. But
Nick,
listen,
when we went to Boston, the last day we were there, me and B ordered this giant plate of crab legs.
Oh yeah, the Alaskan crab legs.
Oh my God! This thing was as big as the table. The two of us put it down and then got more. You don't want to see us at a buffet.
I would
stop.
expect nothing less. I am really impressed. I mean, let's just hope for part 2 here.
Friedell knows food loves us, and we love food.
Absolutely.
We've been at the Shasky's eating plenty of pizza.
Yes.
Now, Nick Friedell, ESPN, covers the Brooklyn Nets. You brought up Draymond Green, and we could get on the youngsters. I think they've mishandled the youngsters. I think the youngsters haven't been ready. That's another conversation. But Draymond Green, outside of that Toronto game, in 4 of those games on that 6-game road trip, he scored 12 points. When he's aggressive, the Warriors are a different team. And then you see him talking yesterday to KD and Kyrie, and I could tell right away, Draymond, he's not into this game tonight. What are your impressions with Draymond Green from the start of training camp, which we know what happened in training camp, to what you see now?
B, I think that punch really screwed things up, frankly. And I say that from a distance because I'm not around it day to day like I was the last 3-4 years. But you just can't have something like that happen. And for as much respect as Draymond has earned through time and as much as that group just loved him, you can't tell me that incident and the aftermath of it didn't have an impact on the start of the season. Now, when you watch him play most nights, at least through the first month and a half, 2 months here, he looks still pretty solid defensively. It looks like he's given that group what they need. But offensively, it's the same old story. I mean, when Draymond's aggressive, they're 100% a different team, and he creates some more space, and they need him to be that playmaking guy. But, you know, I'm sitting here seeing Steph go down for a month or whatever it's going to be, and I'm going, oh, no, here we go again from a few years ago, guys. Because the three of us had those conversations. That year was so bad. And when Draymond would show up for those younger players, they had a chance of winning. In fact, go back to that Christmas game they played Houston that year, and that was their best win of the season. Draymond's running up and down the floor, screaming and yelling, and they're beating Russell Westbrook and Chase. At that point, that was the loudest we had heard it.
That's great.
And we're going, oh, man, like, Mari Spellman and Kai Bowman. Here we go.
Mari Spellman.
Dude, we've come a long way, Nick.
Hey, Nick,
We really did. But B, if he's not playing and giving that group without Steph and Wiggins playing at the level we're used to seeing them play at, then he's just not the same player. And I was right there with you last night. I was just waiting for the ejection because I figured, all right, Draymond is done with this, but he was kind of enjoying being out there with Kevin again and, you know, trying to get through the game. So that's the only surprise last night for sure.
All right, I'll ask you a question about the young guys in a second, but on the Draymond Klay thing right now, Warrior fans are always going to cape up for two legends. I mean, their resume is so decorated and without any argument. They are all-time Warrior legends. The question that I have is, what are they now as players from a league perspective? How do people view them now? We view them as Hall of Famers and All-Stars, but how do you and the league view them right now currently?
Klay's just not that good right now. It's sad, guys, because, look, I watched Klay. I loved seeing him play at the level that he has been at through all those years, Joe, before all the injuries piled up. But when you watch Klay right now, it's not pretty. And that's just reality. I mean, with the difference between Klay before the injuries and Klay now is that every time Klay went out there, you knew what you were getting. In that first year when they were still at Oracle and I was living in Oakland, remember in those first few months, he could not make a shot.
Yeah.
He just was in such a terrible slump. He was at that game in Portland. He was talking to his hand after he finally knocked down a few shots. But you knew that Klay defensively would give you everything he had, and he would be at least serviceable enough offensively where teams would have to still guard him even if he was slumping because they knew it was only a matter of time before he got rolling. The Klay that has appeared after these injuries, he's just not the same defensively. And offensively, he's had some really big nights, and everybody wants to go, oh, man, there he is. There's the old Klay. We know it's in there. The problem is in the consistency. And I don't know if it's going to be able to come back all the way like it has, but if we're talking about the totality of the last year, he's just not a very good player right now. With Draymond, defensively, he is still a very, very elite defender. But with Draymond, it's the same issue over and over in that when you watch him play early, you go, all right, does he want to play tonight? Is he fully invested tonight? And I'd say most of the time when I've been able to watch this season, I feel like he has been. But you need that Draymond all the time, especially when you're dealing with these absences. And when you don't get that type of performance, this team and this roster, especially the back end of it, isn't good enough to compensate when he's not there in that way.
Nick Friedell, ESPN, here on the Morning Rush on 95 Silver the Game. What are your impressions of the way Steve Kerr has handled the youngsters? James Wiseman, Moses Moody, and Jonathan Kuminga.
Oof, Wiseman. Let's start there. It's rough. I mean, I know everybody's going to focus on he had 30, but B, you were watching the same game I was.
It was a pickup game. Come on.
Oh my God! It reminded me. I can only imagine, and you guys are coming at it from the Giants' perspective with Barry Bonds. I'm coming at it from the Cubs' perspective. The Cubs would be down like 8-1. It'd be like the 8th inning back in the home run chase, and Sammy would hit a ball like 500 feet. He'd be like, oh, damn, Sammy hit one today. Everything's good. I think people focused on that Wiseman box score last night, but they're still not viewing it like, how's he doing setting screens, and how's he doing holding onto the ball and working in the post,
boxing out,
and running through
rebounding.
The offense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he has regressed from what I saw in that beginning before he got hurt that first year. He is just absolutely regressed. Now, B, is that on Kerr? Is that on the whole coaching staff? Take your pick there.
Right.
As far as Kuminga and Moody, you still see the flashes from Kuminga, and I was talking to some of the Warriors people yesterday, and they still like what they see from both of those guys, from Kuminga and Moody, and they think that time is on their side and they're continuing to develop. But when I watched Kuminga, I thought we'd see more consistency, a little bit more. And when I watch Moody, I think he's still going to be really solid, but I don't know what the ceiling is at this point, because
right. I
think that they thought that he was going to be ready for 10 or 15 minutes a game, and it is very clear that it's not just on Moody, but a lot of those guys aren't ready for the minutes they're getting. So there was so much hype around, all right, well, we changed the coaching staff and we changed how we're developing these guys behind the scenes, right, and the 2 tracks and on and on and on. Those guys, the proof is in the pudding for all 3, although I think Wiseman is in a different category in that regard. Wiseman, guys, just does not look like he is going to find his way in the next year or two. The other guys with Kuminga and Moody, I think that there's still plenty of time for them to develop and to be helpful in the rotation for this Warriors group. But there's no question, when those players aren't developing, that goes on Kerr. I mean, He's the head coach. He's in charge of the whole deal. But something has not clicked for all 3 on a variety of levels up to this point, because the organization was absolutely expecting more than what we've seen to this point.
Cousin Nick, ESPN, covers the Brooklyn Nets. We know Nick Friedell. We love him here on the Morning Rush. Shaska and I were having a conversation. What do you do without Stephen Curry? Do you play the youngsters and just sacrifice wins and losses, or do you try to win games and put yourself in a position at the trading deadline to possibly make a move to get into the Western Conference playoffs that is wide open, as you just mentioned, Nick? Do you think this organization, you're tapped in with the Myers and the Lakers and everybody with that coaching staff, do you think with how much they're paying in terms of the luxury tax and salaries, do you think they would sacrifice this season to try to develop the youngsters?
I don't be, because I think they know they've got Steph still in his prime, playing like the MVP when he's healthy on the floor. And the tenor of the conversation around this team, when you look at the schedule that they have coming up, I know they got that, 8-game homestand?
Yeah, 8-game homestand, yep.
Look at the teams that are coming in. I know that a few of them have gotten hot lately, but there is no reason why we're not going to sit here in 3 or 4 more weeks and the ship won't have been righted for now. And if you can't win those games in the short term without Steph, although you are getting Wiggins back and there's not as many back-to-back, so Klay is going to give you whatever he can in those moments. If they win a few of those games and Steph comes back, I still think they're going to look to acquire at the deadline, because they know how much money is invested and that Lacob and the ownership group put in this summer.
Right.
And they know they can't run the risk of, Steph will just keep being this good for the next few years. Steph is incredible. There's no telling how long he can stretch this. But I would still bet on shorter rather than longer, because that's the history of the league. No star at the level Steph's played at just continues to play like this year after year after year after year. The injuries start to pile up, and you wonder sometimes how the rest of the roster around those stars goes. The Warriors are in that right now. But I'd say all of that to say, yeah, I still think they'll be buying at the deadline. But this is where I want all Warriors fans to take a deep breath, because they won last year. And that really is the bonus title. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected that title to actually happen. The fact that it did, people need to embrace in these rough times that are ahead the rest of this season at various points and in the future, because that title was so unexpected and so awesome for the Bay and for all the people that have followed this team for so long. When you're getting really frustrated, it's not that this team can't win again. It's that you need to remember how special that run was and the fact that they actually got it to the top again.
Nick Friedell, ESPN. Merry Christmas, my brother. We'll see you next month.
Merry Christmas. I love you, buddy.
Merry Christmas, guys. I miss you like crazy. I had to laugh the other day watching that Bucks-Niners game, because I know we had talked a few months ago about flying out there. And as I'm watching Brock Purdy demolish the Bucks defense and Brady just continue to, I don't know what the hell is going on there, but
yeah, we don't.
I'm going, if I had flown there and I had sat with B and Mr. Shasky and the whole crew, I would have been just looking down like, get me out of here.
It would have been a rough one for you.
It would have been really rough. So good luck to the Niners. I hope they keep rolling for everybody's sake, but just remember that Warriors title last year. Remember the parade. Remember all the good times, because it's not that it can't happen again, but embrace what happened already, because it was pretty cool.
I got to say, Nick, our YouTubers just love you. They just love you because of
Nick. Yeah. I mean, not as much as all the Nets fans love me here.
Boy, hey, Kyrie, I heard you guys are best friends again. White Elephant games at Kyrie's house with Cousin Nick and KD. Hey, Cousin Nick, man, happy holidays, man. We love you.
Guys, I love you back, and I will see you here soon in about a month.
All right, buddy.
There's certain people that I hear their voice, or I see their picture, or I see them. Guru's one of those people. It makes me smile. Nick's one of those people.
Nick makes me smile. But I love him so much that I won't push back on some of the things he said.